Ladies and gentlemen, a huge revelation in the Durham probe trial of Danchenko, the steel subsource, the source for most of the allegations, or a great many allegations within the Steele dossier. One of the key individuals in this entire saga of a whole bunch of people, including loyalists within the Federal Bureau of Investigation, setting up and framing Trump. We already know this from the indictments, from the fact the Steele dossier was purchased by Clinton and the DNC, and also by the fact that John Durham today found out an immunity deal was broken by the Steele source. So Danchenko was given an immunity deal for, quote, complete and truthful testimony. So the Washington Examiner, FBI had immunity deal with Steele source Danchenko, Durham inquiry trial reveals. This is today. And the interesting thing is, day one, we found out that there was a $1 million effort by the Federal Bureau of Investigation to verify the Steele dossier. They couldn't verify the dossier. Nobody from Christopher Steele to Glenn Simpson and Fusion GPS and all these people who were outsourced by Clinton and that law firm that she used to purchase the Steele dossier, the source that's on trial now, nobody could actually verify any of the information. It was completely fabricated. So day one, we find out that there was $1 million they offered for anyone to actually verify any of the absurd claims. Of course, it was all nonsense. The entire Steele dossier that, by the way, Director Comey used to intimidate Trump in his first week in office was completely fabricated by Trump's direct political rivals. You notice whenever they accuse Trump of anything, whether it's going after his direct political rivals or working with the Kremlin, it's always projection on their part. They're the ones who preside over 20% of U.S. uranium capacity sold to the country that they claim to be so tough against. But anyway, Washington Examiner. Hit subscribe, by the way, to this channel. I will have a live stream at 6:30 p.m. Pacific on this channel. The link is below in the pinned comment. So 6:30 p.m. Pacific this evening. We'll also talk about Tulsi Gabbard, hopefully becoming a Republican. She left the Democratic Party. Hopefully I believe that she will become a Republican. But she's absolutely fantastic. In terms of foreign policy, she has pretty much the same foreign policy as Donald Trump, which is why I love Trump. I think he's fantastic because of his foreign policy and because of the fact we had record low poverty in 2019. Now we have poverty that's increased a great deal more, close to 15% poverty rate in the United States of America. It was a 10.5% poverty rate under Trump in 2019. What did these people do? What did Trump do to these people in media and the Democratic Party and throughout the country who despise him? We had a better economy. Household median incomes were at record highs under Trump, without trillions pumped into the economy and without all the inflation. And inflation is worse than expected. We're experiencing a stock market crash. We will see a too big to fail moment, unfortunately, a Lehman Brothers moment soon. I predicted all of this in September of 2021. By the way, I have a revamped website, ladies and gentlemen. You can go to hagoodman.com. It's still being worked on, but I have an amazing web designer, and so you could read my writing in the Hill, the Huffington Post, Salon, the Jerusalem Post, the Federalist. You could see the article that I wrote on October 8th, 2021, predicting everything we're seeing now in the economy. If you want to support my work, my Patreon is below in the pinned comment. Your support is greatly appreciated. If you want to give a super thanks, the super thanks is below. But yeah, check out that website. It's hagoodman.com. And let's continue. FBI had an immunity deal with Steele source Danchenko, Durham inquiry trial reveals. And so the immunity deal was based only so he became a confidential human source because here's the real reason, okay? The Federal Bureau of Investigation needed a pretext to set up and frame Trump, okay? They didn't just want to fabricate information themselves. They needed somebody to go to them and say, oh, here's a compilation of nonsense. They were more than happy to accept this nonsense, this garbage, these false and baseless claims. Whenever you hear the indignation, when Democrats hear any claim made against Hunter or Joe or Hillary or Bill or anyone within the Democratic Party, they say, how dare you? Oh, my goodness. You're suspicious of Hunter? Well, he only has 150 suspicious financial transactions deemed suspicious by banks themselves. And there are only emails that the New York Post published that Twitter tried to suppress 2 years ago and suspended their account, actually stating how can you use your influence on the company's behalf. Obvious graft and bribery schemes within those emails. And so the reaction is, well, you can't prove that Hunter's emails, where people are asking him for favors and money is flowing from suspicious businesses and bank accounts into his account, you can't prove that's a pay-to-play scheme or graft or bribery. These are the same people who expect the Federal Bureau of Investigation to say, oh, by the way, a dossier purchased by Clinton, more than enough evidence to investigate Trump and accuse him of everything under the sun. You're talking about not only the biggest hypocrites, these people are insidious. I mean, there's a difference between political dirty tricks, which is what Clinton was accused of by even President Obama. It was Clinton, her campaign, who initially started the birther myth. And it was wrong when President Trump continued that years back. But the people who started it, there's a Clinton campaign in 2008. And President Obama's campaign manager called them out. But see, again, the Democrats, they start everything, and then they rewrite history into making people think that, well, they're removed from all of this. The Cold War hysteria that Democrats started, the true demagogues, the true authoritarians, the people who blame other countries and blame other people for their failures, that's the Democratic Party, and it was started by this dossier. He'll get a conviction because, A, the dossier was completely fabricated. There was not a shred of truth to it. And the FBI, we found out in day one of the trial, offered $1 million, and they still couldn't find anything. Then you have day two, we find out an immunity deal where the immunity deal only holds up if he told the truth. We know that he didn't. We know that he didn't. And so John Durham is actually the lead prosecutor. We know that he didn't 5 different times. So you have a broken immunity deal. You have a dossier that not only can't be verified, but can't be verified even with the prospect of $1 million. Okay, you would think that they utilized this compilation of nonsense. You would think that some of it could be verified and truthful. None of it was truthful. It was all complete garbage. And they utilized that also to intimidate an incoming president. This is the antithesis of democracy. When people talk about democracy and Trump was a great president. If he said things that people didn't like, you know what? He pushed the envelope in terms of some of the things he said. That's fine, but actions speak louder than that's not fine. You could say that's a valid critique, but this sensationalized coverage and the fake and phony indignation, that's the way Democrats roll with everything. And then they get caught. You see Democratic politicians saying worse all the time. Okay, in Southern California, you see one Democratic politician, and then Joe Biden has said worse, infinitely worse than Trump ever said, especially to Charlemagne the God. Okay, 2 years ago. That was so bizarre, and immediately the Washington Post and New York Times came to his defense because they don't care about being offended. They care about being offended by Trump. That's the deal. But, ladies and gentlemen, this was a huge day. He'll get a conviction. We're rolling into a Trump Republican House and a Trump Republican Senate and impeachment in 2023. All of these things are taking place, ladies and gentlemen. And they're all taking place. The pendulum and momentum is swinging towards Trump. The beautiful thing. Give me your thoughts below. Hit subscribe. Be here tonight at 6:30 p.m. Thank you.